Warm greetings to one and all. The final session of our Always Rejoice Regional Convention is about to begin. Please take your seats. As you watch the music video presentation, reflect on the joy that we share with fellow servants of Jehovah, both past and present. Please listen quietly and enjoy the video.
왕국통치의 표징 분명하니 모두에게 전하여라. 머리 들고 구원을 바라보라. 구출의 때가 가까웠네. 여호와의 기쁜 산성이니 큰 소리로 노래하라. 희망 기뻐하고 감사드리며 모두 하느님 찬양하라. 여호와의 기쁜 산성이니 그 위대하심 알리라. 우리 왕께 항상 정성 다하며 기쁨으로 그분 섬기리. 사랑하는 여호와 바라보며
떨지 말고 힘을 내라.
일어나서 큰 목소리로 함께 하느님 찬송하여라. 여호와의 기쁜 산성이니 큰 소리로 노래하라. 희망 기뻐하고 감사드리며 모두 하느님 찬양하라. 여호와의 기쁜 산성이니 그 위대하심 알리라. 우리 왕께 항상 정성 다하며 기쁨으로 그분
Μου κοιτώ και το θέαμα αυτό πόσο την καρδιά συγκινεί. Τέτοια ζεστασιά και αγάπη βαθιά δεν μπορεί αλλού να βρεθεί. Δεν χάνεται η αγάπη. Το είπε ο Ιεχωβά. Ναι, παντοτινή είναι η αγάπη του κι ακλόνητη. Ναι, η αγάπη αυτή είναι πηγή ζωής. Τέτοια αγάπη βαθιά να είναι μες στην καρδιά. Παντοτινά. Έγινες στη ζωή κι αν βαραίνουν το νου μας στηρίζει ο Ιεχωβά. Βρίσκουνε χαρά διαλαλώντας παντού άγγελμα ελπίδας πιστά. Δεν χάνεται η αγάπη. Το είπε ο Ιεχωβά. kagabi maka nanenesti kaya Pandutin na Pandutin na Pandutin na
A series of pencil sketches are gradually filled in with detail and color. A long, narrow road stretches far into the distance. The hillside on the left has many ancient Jewish homes clustered tightly together. An elderly woman walks along the road. She wears a rust-colored robe and a blue headscarf. She approaches a very wide staircase leading up to the temple, which shines golden in the sun. The woman climbs the stairs. In the temple courtyard, merchants appear. There are sheep. There are doves in wooden cages. There are money bags. The woman makes her way through the crowd. We come face to face with her. She is Anna. She closes her eyes and puts her hands on her heart. She smiles and prays while the sun shines softly on her face. Nearby, Joseph and Mary are holding baby Jesus. An old man, Simeon, approaches them with a smile. Simeon holds the baby and smiles down at him. Anna approaches the group with outstretched arms, her mouth open and her eyes wide with excitement. Joseph and Mary beam. Simeon turns to show baby Jesus to Anna. She gasps and then smiles. Anna looks up to heaven with one hand raised up and the other on her heart. All of the previous scenes of Anna appear on the screen.
We have now reached the final portion of this convention. The program will emphasize the joy that comes from our close relationship with Jehovah. let's stand and sing a song that expresses our heartfelt joy. The song is number 62, entitled The New Song. Again, that's song number 62. Please be seated. Earlier, we learned how Nehemiah and his fellow workers overcame opposition and successfully completed Jerusalem's walls. But what further challenges lay ahead of them? We now invite you to watch the drama's stirring conclusion, Nehemiah, The Joy of Jehovah is Your Stronghold, Part 2.
Nehemiah, the joy of Jehovah is your stronghold. Part 2. Jerusalem, daytime. The city gates open and a throng of men, women, and children flood in.
It was now Tishrei, the start of a month-long festival.
They are all smiles.
We had just rebuilt the wall of Jehovah's great city. Now, it was time to rebuild the spirituality of his chosen people.
Nehemiah and other men faced the crowd.
Many did not know God's law.
They are standing on a raised platform.
Who better to help us gain understanding than a man who had come before me, Ezra?
Ezra smiles and reads from a scroll.
The regulations and judicial decisions of Jehovah.
He hands the scroll to another man.
He and other Levites read aloud from the law of Moses. They not only read it, they explained it, putting meaning into
The
it.
crowd listens attentively, and many eyes are filled with tears.
As a people, we began to understand how badly we had disappointed Jehovah. By working on the Sabbath, offering lame sacrifices, and divorcing our wives to marry foreign women. It hurt our hearts. But by reading God's law, we were learning to be Jehovah's people again.
Do not mourn or weep. Now that you know what displeases God, you can do what pleases Him.
So go, eat the choice things, and drink what is sweet, and send portion to those who have nothing, and do not feel sad For the joy of Jehovah is your stronghold.
The people in the crowd begin to beam and embrace one another. Jerusalem, public square.
We follow Jehovah's instructions to observe the festival of booths.
People build booths in the square and on rooftops. They stake 4 wooden poles in a square and then lay poles on top to make a roof. They tie these poles together with rope and lay palm branches across the top. Families sit inside these booths, eating and laughing.
We spent days rejoicing and giving thanks for Jehovah's blessing.
A little boy chuckles, his eyes dancing in merriment.
Then on the 24th day, we assembled to read God's law,
The people wear sackcloth and kneel on the ground.
to confess our sins,
They throw ashes upon themselves, with their heads hanging low.
and to weep over our wrongdoing.
They all bow their heads and pray. Nehemiah joins a group of men on the raised platform.
We made a binding agreement in writing.
On a table, there is a rolled-up document with 8 wax seals. Nehemiah presses his signet ring into one seal. Other men, including Peleth, press their right thumbnail into the seals. Finally, Raham does the same, scowling as he does so.
We resolved to obey Jehovah's law. But some soon forgot their promise.
Peleth.
Outside Peleth's home,
Raham.
Raham approaches Peleth, who is working in his small garden. Peleth gives him some vegetables.
Here's our rent payment.
Put them in a bag. Basket's hard to carry.
Peleth stuffs leeks, beets, and cucumbers into a sack.
You hear about Nehemiah's latest idea?
You mean the plan to repopulate Jerusalem?
I mean his ridiculous proposal to force families to move into the city, 1 out of 10 by lot.
Yes, I heard.
And I had to be one who was chosen. Why me? Doesn't he care what this does to landholders like me?
Oh,
Peleth raises his eyebrows.
so when are you supposed to move?
Move? I'm not moving anywhere. I have a right to live where I choose, and so do you.
I wasn't selected.
Not yet, you mean. And when you are, I need you to join me in refusing to move.
Peleth looks Raham straight in the eyes.
Raham, the king sent Nehemiah here to rebuild the city.
Raham glares at Peleth.
Nehemiah is the governor.
Governors come, governors go. The king is waiting for Nehemiah to return, and when he does, things will get back to normal.
Even when Nehemiah goes back, Jehovah will still be here. It is his will that Jerusalem be rebuilt. Don't you believe that?
So you would go along with Nehemiah?
Peleth nods.
How can you be so ungrateful?
Raham storms off.
Raham,
Raham turns back, and Peleth hands him the sack of vegetables.
your rent.
Raham snatches the sack and stalks away. Peleth watches him and then slowly goes inside his house. Inside the house, Ima and Simka are sitting on a bench and folding pieces of cloth.
What was that all about?
Raham refuses to move into Jerusalem.
Ima puts down her work and listens.
And he wants us to support him.
What did you say?
I told him Nehemiah's doing Jehovah's will. Raham doesn't understand how happy he could be if he would just follow Jehovah's direction.
So, we will move if we're selected?
Yes,
Ima and Simka smile at his answer.
I'd rather be like Nehemiah than like Raham. Do you agree?
Yes.
Me too.
Levites dressed in white sing and play trumpets, cymbals, and harps.
At the inauguration of the walls, we filled Jerusalem with songs of praise and thanksgiving to God.
They lead a procession followed by a large throng of beaming men, women, and children.
Our great joy could be heard from far away.
Everyone stops in front of the temple.
When I finally returned to the king, I thought about that day often. With what I know now, I wish I had never left.
Levites stand on the temple steps, singing and making music. A sea of Israelites watch them. Years later, in the temple courtyard, a man enters the courtyard.
Jehovah raised up a messenger who chronicled the things that happened in Jerusalem during my absence. His name was Malachi.
That man, Malachi, gazes up at the temple. Tobiah passes him.
Tobiah, despite not being a Jew, still found his way into the temple.
He approaches Eliashib. They embrace.
He utilized his Jewish family ties to take advantage of the other Jews.
What brings you to the temple? It's been some time.
Just wanted to see you. Oh, and to bring you this small gift.
He hands Eliashib a small leather pouch.
Tobiah, you are always so generous.
It's nothing really.
Is there nothing I can do for you?
Well, since you asked, there's one little thing you could do.
Tell me, what can I do for you?
Well, speaking of family...
Malachi leaves the courtyard.
When our relatives, yours and mine, I mean, visit from Samaria, it would be so nice to have a place to eat with them. You know, right here in the temple, that is. After all, they worship Jehovah too. Often.
Tobiah and Eliashib stroll.
Okay, well, sometimes.
Eliashib stops walking.
A room in the temple? But you know I can't do that. That is, all the rooms are in use.
All of them.
Tobiah points to a storeroom.
Aren't some of them just storerooms?
But those are provisions for the Levites.
But can't you clear one out for me? Just one. I only need one.
But what will Nehemiah say?
What difference does it make?
Tobiah walks over to Eliashib.
Nehemiah's far away in Shushan.
He stands very close to Eliashib.
But what if he finds out?
Who is going to tell him? Are you going to tell him?
No.
Then why worry?
Tobiah touches the pouch, which is still in Eliashib's hands, and walks away. Eliashib stares down at the pouch. Inside the temple storeroom, 3 Levites work. One is sweeping, one is gathering utensils in a basket, another in a sack.
So once again, our high priest is given in to Tobiah.
Where should I put the screen?
There's room here. Be careful.
I've got it.
They place the items on a wooden cart. Tobiah approaches them.
Look who's coming.
Behind him walk 2 men. One pulls a cart full of things. Tobiah enters the storeroom.
Can you hurry, please? Once they get out of our way, let's set the table here.
He gestures.
And then the chairs kind of along the wall.
Tobiah, tell me please, where should we store provisions now?
Wherever you want. That's your problem. Now move along.
He shoos the Levites away.
Like now, please.
The Levites pull their cart away.
Right, so we'll unload.
Tobiah's man pulls his cart into the storeroom. The Levites look glum as they talk together.
How could Eliashib let anyone, let alone a man like Tobiah, take over a room for his own use? After all that Nehemiah did to preserve the sacredness of the temple.
Most people don't give tithes anymore anyway.
If we want to eat, we need to go tend our own flocks and fields. It's of no value to serve God.
Malachi enters the courtyard.
Wait, brothers.
He hands a Levite 2 pigeons.
We can't let their wrong acts take away our joy.
Why not? How have we benefited from serving Jehovah?
Yes, and doesn't the scripture say, take good care of your sheep?
Malachi watches the Levites talk.
It also says a faithful man will receive many blessings. We must wait on Jehovah. In time, he will straighten everything out.
Malachi saw how far the people had fallen. The Levites, once the proud keepers of Jehovah's standards, now found themselves questioning the value of their own service.
The Levites leave. Malachi also leaves. Nighttime in Malachi's home. He sits at a desk and unrolls a scroll. He pulls his oil lamp closer. Daytime in Jerusalem's public square. Merchants line the square. People are buying and selling. Peleth carries a cage with 2 pigeons. One merchant approaches Peleth with a wide grin.
Young man.
He points to a pen of sheep. The sheep are thin.
Why not offer a sheep?
The ear of one sheep is bandaged.
The bigger the offering, the bigger the blessings.
Peleth peers at the sheep, then back at the merchant.
And besides, you know what's more impressive to the neighbors, huh?
The merchant's grin grows even wider.
Thank you. I already have an offering.
Yes. But look, you seem like a nice man. So today for you, a special price, huh? Hardly more than you paid for these doves. Come take a look.
Peleth looks more closely at the sheep.
That sheep is blind. And look at how it walks.
Young man, That's absolutely normal for this breed.
Peleth continues on.
God's law says not to offer blind, lame, or sick animals.
The merchant follows him.
If ever I can afford to offer a sheep, it'll be a sound one.
Don't waste your money. She's a fine sheep at a fine price.
I have to go.
Be practical. Besides, it's only a tradition.
Peleth glares at him. The merchant throws up his hands.
Temple services are not the same.
Nighttime, Peleth's home.
It's as if they don't even think about Jehovah.
The family sits on the floor eating dinner. Peleth gets up and opens the door.
Zuba. What's wrong?
Azuba enters, weeping.
Zuba, what happened?
Ima helps her sit down.
How's Raham?
Azuba hands Peleth a folded letter. Peleth opens it and reads it as Azuba continues to weep in Ima's arms.
Certificate of divorce.
I tried to be a good wife, but it wasn't enough.
Ima hugs Azuba and Peleth leans in and listens.
Raham sent me away.
Don't fear, Azuba. You can live here, with us.
Simcha nods.
We can all share. Oh, God. It's all my fault.
You mustn't think that way.
But I didn't give him children.
With or without children. Marriage is sacred.
Ima's eyes also fill with tears.
Trust in Jehovah. He will never send you away.
Azuba begins to smile through her tears. Peleth looks down at the certificate of divorce and then looks up, glowering. Raham's house. Daytime. People are busy working. Raham and another man fill bowls with food. Peleth storms in. He spots Raham and marches over to him.
Raham. We had a visitor last night.
Raham glances at Peleth and then continues his work.
It was your wife. Or should I say your former wife?
Raham stands up and faces Peleth.
Raham, don't you care how you've hurt your innocent mate? How can you be so hard-hearted?
Look, Moses said if you find something indecent with your wife, a man must write a certificate of divorce, hand it to her, and dismiss her. If giving me no children isn't indecent, then what is? Besides, I'm tired of living with her. I'm marrying Gisla today.
Gisla?
Peleth sneers, eyebrows raised.
That Moabite girl? I heard you bind yourself with an oath and a curse not to take a wife from the nations. God's law says they will turn your sons away from following me to serve other gods. Then Jehovah's anger will blaze against you.
Who are you to counsel me? Every man must find his own joy, and I intend to find mine.
Raham walks away.
Raham!
He turns and looks sullenly at Peleth.
Only Jehovah can give true joy. Do you really think you can give yourself more joy than he can?
Raham looks Peleth up and down and exits. In Malachi's house, he sits at his desk. In the light of an oil lamp, he unrolls a scroll. He gazes into the distance.
Jehovah, why do we treat each other so treacherously, profaning your covenant?
He looks down at the scroll.
Malachi.
Malachi looks up, lips quivering.
Say to the priests who are despising my name, a son honors a father, and a servant his master. So if I am a father, where is the honor due me? And if I am a master, where is the fear due me?
Malachi stands up and hurries out. Daytime, Malachi enters the public square in Jerusalem. His eyes are focused and he walks fast. The sheep merchant is counting money. He spots Malachi.
My good man.
Malachi approaches the merchant.
My good man, I see you have no offering.
He grabs the merchant's money pouch and throws it to the ground. Malachi strides on as the merchant scrambles to pick up his money. Raham leads the sheep to the temple courtyard. The sheep is limping and its ears bandaged. A Levite approaches him and they begin to talk quietly. Malachi enters the courtyard. The two men look at him with open mouths.
Why have you Levites despised Jehovah's name?
Despised it? How?
You present a blind, lame, or sick animal as a sacrifice and say that it is nothing bad? Should Jehovah accept it from your hand?
Once the meat is in our pot, no one can tell if it was lame or sound.
What about Jehovah? Can he tell the difference?
Other Levites gather around them.
One day, Jehovah will come to his temple. He will cleanse you sons of Levi by fire.
Malachi, what's gotten into you? Why should you complain when everyone else approves?
Eliashib is one of the Levites present.
Oh, priests, if you refuse to take it to heart, says Jehovah, I will send on you the curse, and I will turn your blessings into curses.
The Levites look at one another.
Return to me.
One Levite crosses his arms.
And I will return to you, says Jehovah.
Others look at the ground.
How are we supposed to return?
Will a mere human rob God? But you are robbing me, says Jehovah.
How have we robbed him?
In the tithes. And in the contributions you are robbing me. Yes, the entire nation is, says Jehovah. Bring the entire tithe into the storehouse, so there may be food in my house. And test me out, please, and see whether I will not open to you the floodgates of the heavens and pour out on you a blessing until there is nothing lacking. And there's another thing you do, so that he no longer looks favorably on anything you offer.
Why not?
Because you betray the wife of your youth, although she's your partner, your legal wife.
Raham's head droops.
There are some who don't do that, because they have what remains of the Spirit. So guard yourselves respecting your spirit. And do not deal treacherously with the wife of your youth. For I hate divorce, says Jehovah, the God of Israel. The lips of a priest should safeguard knowledge, and people should seek the law from his mouth. But you have made many stumble.
Eliashib looks away. Another Levite swallows hard. Malachi gives them a hard stare and exits the courtyard. Malachi in Jerusalem's public square.
Jehovah's message revealed the problem was in their hearts.
He watches people buying and selling.
In spite of that, Malachi sought out those who found joy in doing what was right.
He spots Peleth walking with his wife, daughter, and Azubah. Malachi smiles, approaches them, and puts his hand on Peleth's shoulder.
Peleth.
Malachi.
How are you?
Azubah, don't despair. You will see the distinction between the righteous and the wicked, between one who serves God and one who doesn't.
You must be a prophet.
I serve Jehovah as you do, and I can tell you that when you speak with one another about Jehovah, he pays attention. A book is written before him of those who fear him and meditate on his name.
The three women smile and nod.
May Jehovah be with you.
They part ways. Back in the Persian palace, Nehemiah serves wine to King Artaxerxes. As the king reclines, Nehemiah exits the room carrying a tray with an empty silver vessel.
For years, I was away from Jerusalem, but my heart was always with my people. I requested to return to them.
Daytime in the temple courtyard.
But what I found shocked me.
Eliashib.
Nehemiah walks up to Eliashib and hugs him.
May you have peace.
Nehemiah, I wasn't expecting...
Where are all the Levites and the singers?
Some of them are away right now.
Away?
Eliashib shuffles.
Why are they away?
He avoids Nehemiah's gaze.
Pedaiah's here. Pedaiah.
Pedaiah comes over.
Show Governor Nehemiah around. Excuse me, please.
Of course.
Eliashib scurries away and hides behind a pillar to listen. Nehemiah turns to Pedaiah with his brow furrowed.
Pedaiah, tell me about the temple services. Do you have all the provisions that you need?
Governor Nehemiah, we have nearly no provisions at all.
How can that be?
For a long time, the priests and the Levites have not taken their duties seriously. When the people saw that, they stopped bringing in tithes. Without the tithes, most Levites and singers returned to their fields.
Why have you not returned?
My lord, I'm getting by. I've always believed that Jehovah helps those who trust in him. I know he will correct things in his time.
Did Eliashib not tell the people to bring your provisions?
In your absence, the prophet Malachi warned him and all the priests. But Eliashib,
Pedaiah points to the room.
he took our storeroom, emptied it of our provisions. He gave it to Tobiah to use as a dining hall.
Nehemiah enters the room, looks around, flings a piece of fabric off a stool, and then picks up the stool.
Pedaiah, help us get rid of these things.
Pedaiah begins to pick up utensils. Eliashib runs over with his hands in the air.
What are you doing?
Nehemiah smashes the stool on the ground.
Eliashib? What have you been doing? Why have you and the deputy rulers neglected the house of God?
Nehemiah.
You and they, please cleanse this room and replace the utensils.
Yes, my lord.
And gather all the Levites, the singers, the deputy rulers to me. I'm assigning them all back to their posts. Pedaiah, I'm placing you, Shelemiah, and Zadok in charge of the storerooms. Hanan will be your assistant. It's your responsibility to distribute provisions to your brothers.
Nehemiah. Wait a second. Let me explain this.
I will tell all Judah to bring in the 10th of the grain, the new wine, and the oil.
I can explain this. No, wait.
Eliashib speechlessly watches Levites toss furniture, utensils, and baskets in a pile. Nehemiah walks away. He pauses, eyes fixed on the temple.
Do remember me, O my God. Do not wipe out my acts of loyal love for the house of my God.
Nehemiah shakes his head and walks on.
Not only had they neglected Jehovah's house,
Daytime in the public square.
some of the Jews continued to conduct business on the Sabbath,
The city is filled with merchants.
a day Jehovah had declared as holy.
One displays purple grapes, another holds up silvery dried fish.
What are you selling today? Only the best quality fish from Tyre.
Nehemiah approaches them with hands in the air.
What are you doing? Do you not care that this is the Sabbath?
Nehemiah.
Nehemiah turns to see the Israelite who addressed him.
What is this evil thing you're doing? That's why God brought disaster on this city.
People think it's acceptable now.
What does Jehovah think?
I stopped the buying and selling and ordered the doors closed so as to keep the Sabbath day holy.
Morning, outside the city gate.
But the following week, the merchants tried again.
The gate opens a crack and Nehemiah steps out.
What's the meaning of this? I had to sleep on the ground last night.
You know God's law. No work, no business on the Sabbath. Go!
He turns to Pedaiah.
You and all the Levites guard the gates and keep the Sabbath holy. Don't let anyone in.
The guard nods and takes his post in front of the gate. Nehemiah goes back inside. He shuts the gate behind him, bows his head, and prays.
This too, remember to my credit, O my God, and show me pity according to your abundant loyal love.
Back in the public square, Raham leads a small boy and girl by the hand.
There was another thing that I had to do.
Come on. Come back here. You have to listen to me. I'm your father.
The little boy races away.
What's wrong with your children?
They don't like coming to the temple.
Oh, sweetie.
Nehemiah bends down.
Why don't you like it?
Come back here now!
The little girl also runs off. Nehemiah stands up and faces Raham.
I'm sorry, my lord. My wife speaks very little Hebrew.
Did you not swear never to marry someone who doesn't serve Jehovah?
Nehemiah, nobody cares.
He grabs Raham's beard.
Did you not?
Yes.
Then why have you ignored the command of Jehovah and your own oath?
Let me go.
No wonder your children don't love Jehovah.
He shoves Raham.
Did you imagine that you could succeed without Jehovah's blessing?
I prayed for Jehovah's blessing.
Did you? But you didn't obey him. Raham, how can Jehovah bless something that is against his will?
Raham rubs his face and leaves.
Why was I surprised? The people were just following the bad example of those taking the lead.
Eliashib's grandson married a Horonite, the daughter of Sanballat.
Nehemiah's eyes widen. He turns and spies Eliashib and his grandson. He stalks over to them.
Have you no respect for God's law? You should not give your daughters to their sons, nor accept any of their daughters for your sons, or yourselves. Was it not because of these that King Solomon sinned?
Eliashib looks at the ground, then slowly back up to Nehemiah.
Grandfather, say something.
Be still, my son.
Is it not something unheard of for you to commit this great evil by marrying foreign women?
Nehemiah turns to Eliashib's grandson.
You have defiled the priesthood. You may not serve as a priest, nor remain in Jerusalem.
Fine. I'll go to Samaria. They're more tolerant there.
But he's my grandson.
Then why did you allow him to disregard Jehovah's laws? You know our temple services are what preserves our relationship with God. But as soon as I left, all of you let it fall apart.
Eliashib nods, eyes downcast. Nehemiah and his men walk on.
It took some time, but true worship was restored.
In Nehemiah's house, he sits at a desk by the light of an oil lamp. He dips his pen in ink and begins to write on a scroll.
When I look back on all that Jehovah enabled us to do,
A series of flashbacks. Nehemiah inspects the wall in the moonlight.
despite the opposition we faced,
I recommend we turn the accusation of sedition against Nehemiah.
Next sound they hear will be our battle cry. Are you gonna wait until they start killing us?
the bad influences we avoided,
I have a right to live where I choose, and so do you. I need you to join me in refusing to move.
Don't waste your money. Be practical. Besides, it's only a tradition.
If we want to eat, we need to go tend our own flocks and fields. It's of no value to serve God.
the sleepless nights.
We must go to Jerusalem to keep an eye on Nehemiah.
Don't you see? These people hate what we're doing. They hate us.
You don't have to live and work around them like we do.
The sweat and toil.
Besides, this work is too much for us. We're worn out.
Why do we need a wall anyway?
I just remember the joy we felt,
Men slide the final stone into the wall.
because we were serving Jehovah the right way.
A throng of smiling Israelites flood into Jerusalem.
We thought we were just working on a wall,
Nehemiah directs the Israelites working on the wall.
but Jehovah was rebuilding our faith.
The people throw ashes on themselves. Ela and Simcha smile at Pele.
I'll never forget how Jehovah brought us together to accomplish his will.
Malachi smiles widely as the people flood into Jerusalem.
He taught us to rely on him,
In Malachi's room, he hears Jehovah speak.
and he strengthened us.
Eat the choice things, and drink what is sweet, and send portion to those who have nothing. And do not feel sad, for the joy of Jehovah is your stronghold.
Beaming men, women, and children gather in the temple courtyard. Back in Nehemiah's room, he sits with his hands folded. His face radiates joy.
Do remember me favorably, oh my God.
He dips his pen in ink and continues to write. Samuel Hurd, governing body.
Nehemiah was a man of courage. He could have stayed in the luxurious palace of Shushan and served Jehovah from there, but he didn't. When a need arose, he was ready to make the long journey to Jerusalem to support his brothers. But it wouldn't be easy. First, he had to ask the king of Persia to let him go. What helped Nehemiah to be a courageous person for Jehovah? Did he rely on his personality or his good record with the king? Let's watch this part again.
In the palace, Nehemiah stands before the king.
The place where my forefathers are buried lies in ruins, and its gates have been consumed by fire.
Nehemiah, what is this? Speak frankly, what are you seeking?
Nehemiah briefly bows his head.
At once I prayed to the God of the heavens.
If it pleases the king, and if your servant has found favor with you, send me to Judah, to the city where my forefathers are buried and let me rebuild it.
You may go. Jehovah was with us.
Nehemiah immediately and humbly prayed to Jehovah, the true source of courage. In fact, he prayed repeatedly throughout his assignment, and Jehovah blessed his efforts. So, lesson number 1 for us today. When times are hard, we may be quick to lean on Jehovah. But what if things are going well? Are we still reliant on Jehovah? Or might we find ourselves becoming complacent, perhaps even saying, "Things are good in my life now. I know there's a need to get to work. But I've been serving Jehovah for many years now. I've done my part. Let someone else do it." Will Jehovah bless such an attitude? Wouldn't it be better to turn to Jehovah in prayer, asking Him to give you the courage and joy to continue to reach out in your service to Him? You just might be surprised at the doors Jehovah opens for you. Now, once Nehemiah arrived in Jerusalem, he didn't just give orders, did he? The Bible says that he daily worked alongside his fellow Israelites from the break of dawn until the stars came out. In a similar way, when we show a self-sacrificing spirit, Jehovah will give us the energy needed to carry out the task at hand. The Israelites completed the wall building project in just 52 days. What an amazing feat, especially in the face of continual opposition. At first it came in the form of mocking. Then the opposers threatened to attack. There were Samaritans in the north, Ammonites in the east, Arabs in the south, and Ashdodites in the west. Jerusalem was surrounded by enemies. It could have been easy to feel trapped and to give in to fear. What did Nehemiah do? Well, what was his pattern? In his own words, he says, "We prayed to our God." Then Nehemiah strengthened the people by telling them, "Do not be afraid of them. Remember Jehovah, who is great and awe-inspiring." And so they kept building. After Nehemiah's enemies realized that their open threats had failed, did they give up? No. They now turned to other forms of opposition. In fact, they tried 3 different schemes to sidetrack Nehemiah from the work. Did you notice them? Let's watch the video again.
In Sanballat's house, he confers with Tobiah and Geshem.
They asked to meet Nehemiah halfway.
He signals the messenger to approach.
Tell this to Nehemiah.
The messenger runs to Nehemiah.
Come, and let us set a time to meet together in the valley plain of Ono.
They're trying to lure me away from Jerusalem and do me harm.
They spread false rumors.
Geshem, it's time to implement your plan. Tobiah, write this down. Among the nations it has been heard, and Geshem is also saying it, that you and the Jews are scheming to rebel. That is why you are building the wall.
The messenger goes around the city showing people the letter.
And they used a traitor to try and trick Nehemiah.
They're coming to kill you. By night, we must go into the temple and close the doors.
Shemaiah, should a man like me run away?
You don't understand.
No. What would that do to the spirit of the entire nation?
It's the only safe place.
Besides, I'm not a priest. If I entered the temple, that would be valid reason to kill me. I will not go in.
That decision would be foolish, Nehemiah.
Nehemiah and Shemaiah stare each other down.
Oh, I see. Tobiah and Sanballat put you up to this Didn't they, you hypocrite? May Jehovah remember them and all of you false prophets who keep trying to frighten me. Come, Hanani. We have work to do.
Three schemes, 3 failures. So lesson number 2. Like Nehemiah, we might encounter opposers who scheme to bring our loyal service to a halt. Some may invite us to meet them halfway, so to speak. They may try to convince us that if we serve Jehovah with just a little less zeal, we could pursue worldly goals at the same time. However, because God's kingdom comes first in our lives, we can be like Nehemiah and refuse to compromise. We know where this world's headed. Opposers also spread false accusations against us. In some lands, we're accused of posing a threat to the state. Some accusations have been successfully rebutted in court. But whatever the outcome, we're confident that Jehovah will direct matters according to His will. Opposition may also come from those who pretend to serve Jehovah. Just as a fellow Jew tried to get Nehemiah to break God's law to save his life, so former witnesses may try to get us to compromise in one way or another. However, we reject apostates because we know that our lives are saved, not by breaking God's laws, but by keeping them. Each time, Nehemiah refused to fall into their trap. Why? Because he had a brilliant mind? No. It was because he relied on Jehovah, and Jehovah gave him the insight needed to see through their deceptions. After the wall was built, Nehemiah left Jerusalem for a while. But what did he find on his return? Instead of coming back to find true worship thriving, he found it barely surviving. All the work that he had done to help the people to trust in Jehovah. How do you think he felt? He could have said, "That's it. I'm out. Let someone else clean this up," and walked away. But did he? Let's watch again.
In the temple courtyard.
Why have you and the deputy rulers neglected the house of God? You and they, please cleanse this room.
In the city square.
You know God's law. No work, no business on the Sabbath. Go! Did you not swear never to marry someone who doesn't serve Jehovah? Then why have you ignored the command of Jehovah and your own oath?
Also, Eliashib's grandson married a Horonite, the daughter of Sanballat.
You should not give your daughters to their sons, nor accept any of their daughters for your sons. You have defiled the priesthood. You may not serve as a priest, nor remain in Jerusalem. It took some time, but true worship was restored.
In Nehemiah's room, he writes on a scroll.
Nehemiah didn't walk away, did he? No, he persevered in his assignment. Why? Because he held on to his joy. You see, his main source of joy came not from his accomplishments, not from the security of walls, nor even from what others were doing. From where does true joy come? Nehemiah himself told us, "The joy of Jehovah is your stronghold." So here's lesson number 3 for us. Despite challenges and setbacks, we can be joyful because true joy comes from a good relationship with Jehovah. Nehemiah was a man like you and me. Remember, he didn't have Jehovah's power displayed supernaturally to him like Moses and Joshua did. But what did he have? He had prayer, he had faith, and he had trust. Those were his tools. And there's no doubt that Jehovah was active on behalf of Nehemiah, guiding and blessing his efforts. We have those same tools today. Pray to Jehovah. Put faith in him and trust that he will bless your self-sacrificing efforts. Just as Jehovah gave Nehemiah the courage, the energy, the insight, and the perseverance to carry out his assignment, he'll do the same for you.
Like Nehemiah, we gain strength from our association with faithful fellow believers. Likewise, our next song draws attention to the blessings we enjoy as a united brotherhood. The song is entitled, "We Are Jehovah's Army." Let's stand and sing together song number 71. After the song, you may remain standing for any announcements. Again, that's song number 71.